All right, so the premise of this exercise that we've created for you, we asked you to do homework. Unlike some of our other guests, you obliged. You're happy to do the homework. The premise is PGA Tour player
pro golf.
And what?
Any
golf. Golfer.
I have one live guy, I think, on the list.
So pro golf, it's weird having to say that. Pro golf to NFL franchise. I'm not gonna lie, I cheated. I've got some non NFL franchises. I've got some I went down the quarterback route because I don't know. I was having trouble like separating the full history of a franchise with the player that might only have been on tour for 3 years. So I cheated, but I think it'll add some diversity in our picks and everything. So anyways, let's just go one by one. We'll go down around the horn, just similar to the TV show that you contribute on. Kevin, who's your first pick?
All right. So for the NFL, this era just ended, but it has not been replaced by a new era, so it is still ongoing in my book.
Seahawks.
Well, I've got both those teams on my list, but I'm going to start here. Established a baseline of dominance over a decade ago. Maybe underachieved relative to the talent that was suggested around then. Complete chaos from one event to the next. One play to the next, one shot to the next. The Pete Carroll era Seahawks are Mr. Jordan Spieth.
Yep.
And I just don't think, and I think that, I mean, if you were, here's the way I look at it. How many situations that Jordan Spieth is in, if you took away the name and you said, this is what's happening to a golfer, you'd say, oh yeah, no, this is Jordan Spieth. We're talking about Jordan Spieth here. The mystery golfer is Jordan Spieth. I feel like the Seahawks, when you have these games and you say, who played that onside kick game against the Packers? Who played that 6-6 game where everybody kept missing kicks, but it was great defense against the Cardinals? If you just took the name away, you'd go, that's a Seahawks game. And I think it's 1-1. No one has embraced and thrived in chaos more. I think that's the most important thing. Is if the Seahawks thrive in chaos and they like it and they understand that clutch is a real thing. And that you can win, like you saw the video with Pete Carroll where he's like, you can only win the game in the fourth quarter. Can't win it in the first, can't win, which is not even true. Like Andy Reid is obsessed with winning the game at halftime because statistically then you win the game overall. But Pete Carroll wants to win it in the fourth quarter, and I just see a 1-to-1 comparison between those two things.
It's like your tweet that there's never been a normal Seahawks game. There's never really been a normal Jordan Spieth round. So I like that take a lot. That's not on my list, but that's
also
that's a great one.
You cannot, no matter what Jordan Spieth does off the tee, you cannot say, well, this, write this hole off. Same thing with
anything's
the Seahawks.
In play.
Same thing with the Seahawks.
That's somebody, I forget who tweeted this. Somebody, it might have been Claire Rogers. I'm not sure. I apologize to whoever it was. I apologize to Claire Rogers if she didn't tweet this, but somebody tweeted like just an unnamed screenshot of 284 yards to unknown. Who is this player? And everybody was like, Jordan Spieth. And it's like, yeah, the Seahawks, anything could happen. And it's like, let me tell you, if you said something really crazy happened in the NFL, can you guess what team it was? It would probably be the Seahawks.
Yeah, and I think part of it is the game Spieth wants to play, the talent that he has relative to the rest of the field, all that stuff. And just, again, the fact that I think when we're looking back on it, we're saying he probably should have won a little bit more.
Fair enough. All right, I'll go with my number one. I think this is my favorite one. Team that physically imposing, has all the traits. They can win, but the wounds always feel self-inflicted. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills are Rory McIlroy.
Oh, wow.
I think there's the arm talent. There's the physicality, there's the speed with Josh Allen. We know he can make all the throws, but I feel like if Rory just knew when to check it down and when to slide in week 5 instead of go flying through the air, we'd have a little more confidence in him to win a major championship. So I think the Rory-Josh Allen comparison is strong. Andy, Kevin, how do we feel about that?
Rory, noted Bills fan also.
Yeah.
One of the most famous Bills fans in existence. I think you throw that in too.
There's no doubt he can win, right?
Yeah.
We know that. obviously. But do we actually, if you felt confident about the limiting the self-inflicted wounds, then I think you'd pick him more often. Kevin?
Wow. Okay, couple things. Number one, I actually have made this comparison before. This is just on between the lines. I have made a comparison between Mickelson and Josh Allen. Reason being is that Mickelson has said many times that the object of golf is to do cool things. And that if you can do this wild shot, and if you have the opportunity to do it, you're just going to do it, right? And it gets him in trouble. And with Josh Allen, it's something I've talked with Josh Allen about before, where I'll be like, all right, the team wants you to change your style of play, be a little more conservative. But he's like, well, okay, but like, I'm not going to change who I am. Like he has the opportunity with his arm talent that you just referenced to do the coolest stuff in the world. You try being boring with that, right? Same thing with Phil. I think Rory is an excellent comp. My Rory comp, I'm sorry to say, is the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
wow.
Consistently good. The headline in whatever big event he is, everybody's watching Rory on day one of the majors. Every single person is watching Rory on day one of the majors. Better than he gets. I'd say, listen, by the way, the Cowboys won 12 games for 3 straight years. Like, we cannot, just because they can't.
This is
what?
I have a different Cowboys one.
This is disrespectful.
What the hell? They make the playoffs every single year.
I mean, come on.
Andy has an. I want Andy to get to some of his. I have the Cowboys in here. I have the Cowboys as Xander Schauffele, and I think it's on paper. Get it? Really good regular season team. Bunch of T8s. Bunch of consistency. But you never really believe that he's on the short list to get it done in the same way. I don't really trust Dak in a big playoff game. Like, Xander's been relevant a couple times. He's had a chance to win, but I don't fully believe it. Really good on paper. Well built. Well-rounded. I think it may be comparing to Rory is a little disrespectful to Rory, but I'm not that far apart from you.
I think it depends.
the Cowboys as
It depends how long you go back. Okay, that's interesting. Go ahead.
Basically
similar.
the same
Similar energy.
Same energy. Like, they're gonna lure you in with a few wins. Like, Cantlay will make a run in the FedEx Cup playoffs, and you're like, oh, this is the year. Like, look, they're a great fit. He's a great fit. There's no reason why Patrick Cantlay isn't gonna win the Masters or the Open Championship or the U.S. Open. Look, he's good at everything. Look at the Cowboys. Remember at the beginning of the year, the Cowboys, they were like, this is the greatest defense ever. And then they got absolutely torched by the Packers. Like, completely torched by the Packers.
I picked them to make the Super Bowl.
Yes.
At the beginning of the season.
Well, this is how you can talk yourself into Patrick. You always can talk yourself into Patrick Cantlay in a major. And then it's like, oh, Patrick Cantlay's 15 shots back on Saturday afternoon. And
is any team more of a T12 at a major than the Cowboys?
No, they're like T6. They're better than we give them credit for. Right?
T12's good.
That's the thing.
Maybe this is recency bias, but I can't get to T6 after yesterday.
So the reason you make the playoffs every year and don't go farther is because, and this is a football only take, it's not a Rory take. You either have talent and no coaching, or coaching and no talent. Like, that's the only explanation for getting that far and never progressing beyond it. Having said that, their roster talent is such that they are T6 every single year. T6, no higher, no lower. That's the Cowboys thing. I think you guys are being disrespectful to the Dallas Cowboys. That's my take. You guys thought I was being disrespectful to Rory. I didn't compare him to like the Cardinals.
We just listed the two active, the players, the two most top 10, most weeks in the top 10 in the OWGR without a major active players.
But it depends on how far you go back. The Cowboys had some of the biggest success on the planet in our lifetimes, Andy.
This is why I struggled with the strict franchise. But you ready for my first one here?
Yes.
All right. Both of these longevity relevance at the top of the game in my lifetime. Just like lots of highs, very few lows. But at the end of the day, you look at it and you're like, God, how did they only win one major, one NFL championship? Despite all this greatness, franchise quarterbacks, Adam Scott is the Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
The refs helped the Packers out. The long putter helped Adam Scott out.
Oh, Jesus. I will say,
I like
it is
listen,
rich
20
for a
years from-
Bears fan. It is rich for a Bears fan to just reduce the Packers to only having won one Super Bowl, despite the fact they're consistently the best team in the division. They're working on they're currently in the playoffs. They're working on their third straight elite quarterback. And in our lifetime, I was not watching football when they had the Magic Man before Brett Favre. So in my lifetime, I've only seen good Packers football. I think you're being a little disrespectful to the Green Bay Packers here.
I think Adam Scott, from effectively like 2004 till now, like in golf terms, has been like a first 20 names at a major player. And 20 is like the low end, right? And this is like kind of more recent than but like he was a first page favorite at major championships for a good 15 years. Like the guy has like ultimate floor. We haven't even gotten into like the, Adam Scott's like the darling of golf because of his looks and his grandeur. I'm not going to go there. I don't like the Packers. I'm not going to use that at all. But the Packers have always been the eye of American football. Like, oh, look at the Packers, the small market team that is, everybody loves the Packers except for Bears fans in general. Anyways, Adam Scott is the Packers. I think this is probably the nicest. I could have gone Sergio Garcia and could have just put him in there instead of the Packers. Only one title, despite all this talent. Okay. I gave him Adam Scott. That was really nice.
I don't need you to spoil it yet. Is there a Bears comp on your list?
I got one.
I'm looking forward to it. I just didn't want you to get away from this without having a Bears comp on here.
Kevin, you want to hit number 3?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where to go on this. I'm going to go with the easy one. A guy whom records do not seem to count for. Like it just seems like he exists in a completely different plane. He serves as a baseline to show you how mediocre you are. There are a million, and literally probably a couple thousand tiny edges that require you to win football games. And he has all of those in golf, and this franchise had them for a period of 25 years. Tiger Woods is New England Patriots, and it was obviously significantly more. Those two were significantly more in tune, maybe 5-6 years ago. But I think that when you look at just the floor of the Patriots for 2 decades was the AFC Championship game. They made the playoffs. They won double-digit games every single year. Bill Belichick was there, and with Tom Brady on the roster. And even when they had Matt Castle, they were still able to figure it out. The things that the Patriots were able to do, very similar to Tiger Woods, where they would change with every innovation in the sport and also at the same time innovate the sport in different ways. If the Patriots had to change their style because the game was going in some way, they would do that. And then once that style became too popular, they would swerve and create a new style. The game is in their image. And so I think Patriots, Tiger Woods, same entity.
Some controversies too. Deflategate.
I've noticed, yes.
Married supermodels.
Had a lot of headlines, a lot of people, a lot of arguments about where the greatness comes from.
I like
that.
The
standard of excellence. I like it.
Well, and I also say that one of the things, and I've said this before, but like you get 3 beers in anybody in New England, and they'll take credit for the Patriot way, the last 25 years. And people you've never even heard of, right? Will be like, well, I was really the one who said we should bring in Wes Welker. And I think with Tiger, it's like, it's not the same because it's one person, but it's like, there are a million ways you could say, this is why Tiger's good. This is why Tiger's good. And we hear, you've read it in every book or whatever, but like, if you were to sum up why Tiger Woods is good in one sentence, you couldn't do it.
Like it. I didn't have a Tiger Woods comparison, so there's not a ton of overlap. I'm liking the variety here. I will say of the franchises, I kind of focused on like right now versus the history a little more. I think Kevin, you and Andy went a little more for history here. So with my next one, this is pretty focused on this year, but
sure,
it works for the past few years too. I think the San Francisco 49ers are John Rahm, where it's consistent power, well-rounded. It's down your throat. It's a long drive after a long drive down the middle. And no matter what major championship you can always kind of pick John Rahm, and there's not a whole lot to nitpick there. If you think the 49ers are going to win this year, who's going to disagree with you? Even when they're forgotten a little bit or when they show maybe a little bit of weakness, if they're healthy. That's a great pick. I think the same is true of John Rahm. He was the third favorite going into the Masters last year behind Scheffler and Rory, but a lot of smart people were still picking John Rahm, knowing he's that championship caliber golfer. So in my opinion, the power, the consistency, 49ers or John Rahm.
So let me get this straight. So you went with the recency. All you wanted to do was now, but there's no reference. Like the Niners didn't go and join the UFL.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know, they have not joined the merged XFL USFL yet.
Fair enough. I guess it's not perfect.
Yeah.
The thing too, I think like living out here, the fans, Rom fans are, that 49ers are kind of they're a weird fan base. I gotta say, I think it's got to be something to do with like lifestyle out here, outdoors.
Yeah.
Like they care if it seems like they care if their team's really good. Everybody's a Niners fan. If their team's not good, then nobody is. I feel like with Rom, he's consistently in it. But like you only hear from Rom fans when they win. Like you don't hear from Rom fans when he's, T21.
That's a good one. That's a good thought.
I like that. You're helping me out. I wasn't even going there with the comparison.
Exactly.
He was building on it.
I was trying to local knowledge. That's called local knowledge from Andy Johnson.
I walk around and there's 49er flags everywhere. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But I have Legion 13 fans
last year.
Everywhere.
You know what? Last year there weren't a lot of 49er flags. They all came down quick.
They got Purdy fever.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna now dive into my my players here. This is your favorite Stats Boys favorite player. You talk to one person, they say, "Oh, this guy is so overrated." You talk to another guy, they're gonna say that's the best player on the PGA Tour that nobody talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert is Cameron Young. There's just eye-popping talent. Drool, like you look at the advanced statistics, it's like, oh my God, this guy's the future number one. This guy's the future best quarterback in the NFL. People can get irrational about it. It can make some people angry. It makes some people, happy. These are two polarizing people because of the embrace of the stats community.
And what I love about it, and curious for your opinion, Kevin, I think the same type of person that tends to think Justin Herbert is good also thinks Cam Young is good. Like, hey, it's not always just about winning. They're showing the traits. I think Justin Herbert is excellent. And the type of person that says, well, but he hasn't done it yet, is the same kind of person that tends to discredit what Cam Young has done so far. So I love the comparison.
Who is Justin Herbert's, Cam Young's Tua? In this, like, who's the other guy where it's like the non-stats guys are like, no, this guy's the same age as him and he's going to be better. He's the future number one.
I kind of have one of those later. I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
It could be.
I'm so excited about your guys' list. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I can't wait for Andy's
We'll
Bears
save
one.
it. We'll save it. I mean,
yeah.
All right, we'll save it.
All right. So speaking of Tua, can I give my Miami Dolphins comp?
Let's go.
All right. Different vibes than anybody else. Mike McDaniel, just a different dude. Unbelievable, as you said, offensive metrics with one flaw. That is, we're all waiting around. It's gotten better, but we're all waiting around for it to implode. Miami Dolphins are Victor Hovland.
You went a little different direction. I thought you were about to go.
What'd you think I was going to go with?
I thought you were going to say a lot of speed. I thought you were going Bryson. And I have that in my notables, a Dolphins Bryson comp, but I like this.
No, I don't. The Bryson thing, I don't. Bryson is one of one, and I don't think Bryson's the Dolphins are not as obnoxious as Bryson.
Is Bryson Brandon Staley?
They're also not. Yes. Well,
that's a good
Brandon
one.
Staley. If Brandon Staley, like defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. But also the other thing about that is that Brandon Staley, the things he was talking about. He was basically saying he was starting a revolution with the most obvious crap in the world. And so like Brandon Staley was like, oh, I stopped the run without committing people to stop the run. Well, you also had Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, right? So like, what exactly were you doing? And the thing I always think about a lot is I wrote this piece about Bryson a couple of years ago, and I was talking about how he's going to change golf or whatever. And And Mark Titus replied to the tweet. He's like, a good buddy. We've golfed before. He's really long off the tee, by the way. But Titus replied and just said, "Wow, I never thought to hit the piss out of the golf ball until Bryson started doing it." And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So that's Brandon Staley for you. Anyway, no, I just think with McDaniel, first of all, like different. Like we all remember the what was the Hovland say? He just drives across the country listening to Joe Rogan and drinking Monster Energy. Again,
Heavy
take
metal
the name
music.
off that. Heavy metal music. Yes, exactly. That's Mike McDaniel vibes. There's a sort of underlying sarcasm in all of it. Different personality from those guys. And then again, everything else seems perfect. And I look every week. I look at the strokes gained stuff, and you look at ball striking, you look at all the things you like, and you see the little red by around the greens, and you say, what can he get away with? And again, that's gotten better. But again, same thing with the Dolphins. They keep getting better, and we keep wondering what the holes in his game will reveal themselves to be. And so I think frankly, I think, although also, by the way, Mike McDaniel's fashion choices very similar to Victor Hovland, where we don't really know where he's going from one week to the next. He's wearing capri pants. He's yeah.
The other thing is you watch him at a press conference, right? And you're like,
Yes.
Is that guy stoned? Has he been smoking weed? Like both of them have that energy.
I was leaving that one unsaid. I was letting the listener kind of connect the dots on that one.
I like this. So I have a Victor Hovland one as well, and we went a little different directions only because, as I said, I'm kind of focusing on the current state of the franchise.
Of course.
And I think Victor Hovland's short game improvements they're legitimate to where he is tier 1 contender. I have Victor Hovland as the Baltimore Ravens. And some of my rationale is very analytically driven, smart approach to the sport. The Ravens have always been a smart front office, have always been forward thinking on those kind of things in the same way that Victor Hovland is. And I think with Lamar, some of the issues, and Kevin, you can speak to this better than I can, but maybe some of the pocket presence a couple years ago weren't as sure if he could win. And now like they are one of the favorites, them and the 49ers, same way that I think Victor Hovland coming into 2024, first ballot, top couple names you can pick him to win. So
right.
For me, Victor Hovland's the Baltimore Ravens. Not that dissimilar though, Kevin, from your logic on comparing him to the Dolphins.
Yeah, again, and similar between the Ravens and Hovland, we're projecting out because there's no proof of concept on the absolute biggest stage. We're projecting.
They need to win.
We're all in our head. We're going, oh, is this going to be another Tennessee 2019 again? Like there's a lack of full trust that you can give them, which I think is true of the Dolphins. Again, like I think part of it for me, and I think the difference in my thing against your thing is like I think the Dolphins' gains were like really impressive and legitimate, but then like the best thing in the world for like Bears fans, Andy's got this in his head, and like Jets fans are all clowning on the Dolphins because he lost a playoff game, and it's like, well, you guys aren't even in the playoffs. So like I am maybe thinking that the Cowboys and the Dolphins accomplishments this year were more impressive than maybe the casual NFL fan. Like what McDaniel has done with Tua has been borderline miraculous.
Fair enough. We're on the same page. I think what we would definitely agree on is the only thing left is to prove you can do it. Like Victor Hovland needs to win the Super Bowl,
100%.
Needs to win a major, and the Ravens need to win the Super Bowl. Like that's the way I was thinking about it.
Dolphins need to win in cold weather somehow for some reason. Hovland can't do it. Hovland can't go play in the
resort boy.
What's the coldest golf tournament?
He might be good because of the Norway boss.
He hasn't done it. Do it. I could be a Stu Gatz. Do it. Win the National Open of Norway.
I feel like the Ryder Cup's usually the coldest. Yeah. Like you get it that late September somewhere northern in the U.S. It's all right. I'll move on here. I'll go with mine. It's another player comp, but these are long careers. Long careers.
Oh yeah.
One includes a really big contract. The other one includes really big endorsement dollars. Both of them, one has major, questions. Prime time. Can they win in prime time? Can they win on Monday Night Football? These are mired their year. Statistically, things look really good. Anyway, the other player, can he win a major? Is he got too much hype for what he is? Ricky Fowler is Kirk Cousins.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay.
What does
Not a
Ricky
lot of
Fowler
wins.
do like that moment?
I want to flesh this out. I want to flesh this out a little bit. Because one of the underlying things that defines the Kirk Cousins era is that coaches love him. Coaches are all like, I wish I had Kirk Cousins.
Players love. Everybody
that's what I'm
loves
saying.
Ricky
That's what I'm saying.
Fowler.
Is Ricky the guy where like everybody who plays with him is just like, holy crap, look at this guy go.
Everybody loves Ricky.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Ricky,
Yes.
right? And it's like you could talk yourself into Ricky, but at the end of the day, you know, he's probably never going to win a major. He had like, you know, moments where like even this year with Kirk Cousins, you're like, oh my God, like, you know, in the beginning of the year, you're like, this guy's playing at a different level than he's ever played before. But it all, you know, obviously this year it came down because of the injury, but it always comes crashing down.
Personality-wise, so in the wonderful Omaha Productions documentary, Quarterback, there's a part there where Cousins has like his little room, and the contractor put it on himself to install, without asking anybody, a shelf for his Lombardi, which has obviously not come yet, and it's like a weird sort of aspirational thing. If there was a golfer who had a empty trophy case in his house that he shows off waiting for a major, is it Ricky Fowler? So just like you come in to Jupiter and you say, and you go, oh yeah, this is my nice living room, whatever, and then here's my major trophy case. It's empty. Like, is that Ricky or is that somebody else?
I could see Jason Day. I guess he has a major.
He won.
Like that could be like Jason Day vibes, right? I'm just scrolling through here. I can't think of anybody else. Like I could see Phil
Westy?
having like that and having spots for like 12 of them, and only you know. Only having 6 in there, like that's like stuff that Phil might do.
Do we have a current Phil comp
for player or just for NFL franchise?
Anything. Like I just feel like it's taken so. I mean, there's a player out there.
Honestly, Aaron Rodgers is not a crazy.
I was gonna say you replaced him on McAfee the other day.
Aaron Rodgers is not a crazy comparison.
Not a crazy comparison at all.
I mean that's the one. I mean it has to be Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yes. I don't think there's anybody
especially
even close.
If Aaron Rodgers next year has like a triumphant return and he's like the MVP of the league, and it's like that would be Aaron Rodgers Kiowa, right? Where he comes back like out of nowhere. It's like everybody's counting me out and I'm back, right?
Wow. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so do we each have one left?
I do.
I got one.
Let her rip, Kevin.
All right. Winning is a skill. They know how to do it consistently. They had the fundamentals of the game down, and and the reason I think you win major championships is that you know, sort of mentality-wise, we were talking about earlier, how to win when everybody's playing their best. To me, that's the Philadelphia Eagles. To me, that's Brooks Koepka.
Ooh.
I just feel like the Eagles know their identity. And even if you think they don't, they do. It's always strong along the lines. And like, it's funny because like, I think Brooks is like the closest you can get to a sports alpha. Right. And I think a lot of times I was in I was doing it after they won the Super Bowl. I was doing a story with the Eagles and I was talking to one of their guys and I was like, you know, you guys went for on a 4th down and you got all these guys on 1-year contracts and the way you drafted and all this stuff. And the guy was like, would you shut up? The reason we won the Super Bowl is because we were strong on the offensive and defensive lines. Everything else was a bonus. And I kind of think with Brooks Koepka, like we know why he wins. And I think we have all sorts of different theories about the way he plays and the way he wants to manage his career and injuries and all this stuff. But when he needs to play his best, he does. And I think that's the Philly experience. That's the Brooks Koepka experience. Notwithstanding, I know Joseph wants to do the current Eagles. The Eagles are about to get their ass kicked tonight or next week. We'll figure it out. This episode might go up after they won by 20 points. But like at some point, they're going to get their ass kicked this January. So let's put literal recency bias aside. It's a very similar franchise.
I guess on that. So Brooks Koepka, if you think about his majors wins to regular season wins, like he's got an all-time ratio there. Hasn't won a lot of the smaller tournaments. In your mind, is the correct comparison there the Eagles? Because I like the comp. Or like I was just thinking the Eli Manning Giants. Like,
yeah.
What's the right NFL franchise that is really outkicked on just winning Super Bowls versus regular season success?
So I understand that, but they've won. I mean, you're going back a little bit on the Giants. The current Giants are not. If the current Giants were a player, they would be on the. They would not be on the. They would not have the tour card. They would not currently have their tour card. They would not. They would be a bunch of Monday qualifiers. And so I think like they win playoff games. Did you see the stat the other day? Like Nick Foles has more playoff wins than Romo and Dak combined. Like they win playoff games. And to me, like the Super Bowl, it's so hard because I was going through the Super Bowl winners, and it's like I don't think anybody is Mahomes. I don't think anybody's the Chiefs. I think there's an impossible standard in golf. I think maybe 20 years ago you could make the Tiger comp, but then the Tiger is the Patriots, right? And so it's really hard for me. Like Andy, we did this a couple years ago over text, being like, who's the Jimmy Walker of quarterbacks? And I think the answer is maybe Nick Foles. I don't know, but like Super Bowls to majors cannot be 1-to-1 because there's 4 majors per year and 1 Super Bowl, and in football, the same teams win the Super Bowl over and over and over again. So for me, you have to use playoff wins and that kind of success as a proxy. And this is a team that makes Super Bowls, that won one with Nick Foles, that gets to NFC title games, divisional round of playoffs, consistent success when you need to have consistent success.
I like it. All right, I'll bring it home with my last one. This is not a crowd pleaser. This is looking for enemies in 2 different directions here.
Oh,
so
beautiful. This is our social clip. Turn the TikTok camera on.
Yeah.
I'm going I'm going a team that is easy to cheer for, legitimately solid. If anyone calls them a fraud, they're wrong. They're legitimately good. Don't believe they're going to win the Super Bowl. Don't believe they're going to win a major. I was a little wrong about this team too. I thought they were going to be a little bit more average this year. They're legitimately good, not a fraud, but don't really believe they're going to get it done at the highest level. I have the Detroit Lions are Tom Kim. And
I had some ideas about Tom Kim. I almost put something similar together for Tom Kim.
Very good.
I had Jared Goff and Tom Kim.
Can win the Wyndham Championship despite making a big number on the opening 9. If you wanted Augusta, I'd be very surprised. Lacks some of the power. The Lions don't have much of a secondary. I'm happy for them. I respect both of what they bring to the table, but that is my comparison.
And poor Tom.
Is that unfair, Kevin?
What is there a
He's
66?
only like 22.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
21.
Is there a
21.
season ticket holder who's been watching Tom Kim for 66 years, like the guy last night? Just like the diehard, the Kim heads have been waiting for years for this just emotional release of a Kim win.
It doesn't work from a history perspective.
No, I completely see where you're coming from. I just think the funny thing is for me now is like the Lions are seen as like this avatar of like, finally we're getting rewarded with something, and then you hit us with Tom Kim. That's what I love. That's what I love about what's going on here. It's because we're all coming at it from 3 different perspectives. Andy's not even playing the team game; he's just throwing out quarterbacks.
Well, I guess I just I've just thrown out quarterbacks. I'll throw you another quarterback, and my last one is all Bears centric.
Okay.
I had trouble with the Bears because it was hard.
Yeah.
It was actually hard to think about a golfer that is so dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talk about dysfunction as an organization, right?
Yeah.
You talk about an organization that in a year had like the defensive coordinator just leave. Rumors were like the
and then
FBI
no one figured out what happened.
No, but no one has a clue. The defensive coordinator leaves. The running back coach gets dismissed because of an HR problem. Like how serious that probably has to be for a guy to be fired mid-season.
I like where this is going.
Oh God, I have no idea where this is headed.
So I think I know, but
so then they bring him back, right? They've had one triumph that they're still dining off of in the whole, like, the city. The city of Chicago still talks about the 85 Bears.
Yes.
That happened before I was born. I turned 38 this year. That is still like one of the hallmark moments of the city, when most people that live in the city weren't even born for it. But anyways, there's this ineptitude. I think just in general,
mm-hmm.
the Bears are the PGA Tour.
Yeah, there we go. Complete with the HR violation.
I was trying to figure out what golfer you were going to compare him to.
There's no golfer that you could even like get to the laundry list. The things over the course have failed to adopt any modern football principles. Have a coach that's trotting out, like they had this great success as a defense when they had Vic Fangio, like a new age NFL defense. And then a couple years later, they go back to the cover two. It's like they're trotting out this antiquated system. And they keep their coach. Nobody else in the right mind, after all the things that happened this year, would keep their head coach with the greatest crop of head coaching candidates. So anyway,
have you ever had to apologize for being a Bears fan, Andy?
That's right.
I'd say the one thing that's very similar in that regard, obviously it's a great comp. The one thing that's very similar is I've heard people say, like, you should never be allowed to say, because everybody says it. Kevin Warren is now saying it. Ted Phillips said it before that. The McCaskies have said it. We want to play Chicago Bears football. You should not. Everything you've done, don't do it anymore. Don't do anything that you used to do going forward. That's my advice to you guys on both ends of that comp. There, it's just let's just start anew.
Good thing the Bears have a guy working 18-hour days. Kevin Warren. That's all I can say. My other Bears comp is Justin Fields, is Cam Davis. Really flashy, eye-popping physical traits. Hits it long. The irons when they're cooking, like everything when it's going right, looks great. But then there's just these performances where you're like flummoxed, where you're like, wait a second, what's going on? Maybe it's just he hasn't been put in the right situation. Maybe it's coaching around him. Maybe somebody just hasn't gotten everything out of Cam Davis they needs to. Maybe, the Justin Fields. But anyways, it's always going to leave you wanting more.
Similar, I had noted Cam Davis, Anthony Richardson, just very physically imposing, projectable. But Anthony Richardson doesn't have any of the hiccups that Cam Davis might have. So I think your comparison might be better.
No, the Cam Davis one is good because also, like, there's this element of the Justin Fields thing is unique because there's a bunch of excuses that have built up around him, even though a bunch of young quarterbacks seem to be having tons of success without the things that the Bears fans say are a prerequisite to having success. So it's hard. That part is hard to comp to a golfer, but I think I completely agree. Like the flashiness, the fact that every time he swings the club, it couldn't look like the best thing you've ever seen. I think that's the point of Fields, is like anytime he takes a snap, you might see something you've never seen on a football field. By the way, that goes in any direction.
I mean, think about he makes. You always see the same plays on the tweets that are like, you can't get rid of this guy. Build around him. Like it's always the play where he like shrugs off two defensive linemen and makes the throw, and they never show like him just holding onto the ball and getting hit, like, and just it's like a clean pocket. He's got plenty of time, and then he gets popped, and it's like, and then you see the view from behind him, and it's like three wide open receivers, right?
Can I make a wild kind of broad comp between football players and young golfers? Because
obviously,
I've always thought that, so you've heard this criticism of young golfers. They've come up in the TrackMan era. They're not used to real misses. There's no artistry in it because the drivers are so forgiving and all that stuff. I feel like the quarterbacks, you mentioned Justin Fields holding on to the ball too long. Every young quarterback hangs on to the ball for so long now because they came up in a game in which you do not get punished for that. Because it used to be, if you came up and you held onto the ball too long and you were 1993, in high school ball, you would be murdered. You would be on crutches for your entire career because some 5-star, from South Florida would play you in the state championship game and he'd rip your head off. College the same way, pro the same way. So these guys were just getting the ball out of their hands over and over and over again. Now with these rules, you can come up and you have the spread. You can just hold the ball, run around a little bit. These quarterbacks are coming in now, whether that's Justin Fields, Drake May is another one who holds on the ball forever. Caleb Williams holds on the ball for Caleb, but it's a little bit different. Like these guys are comfortable just being like, yeah, I'll figure that out. I'm going to figure that out and just stand back here for 6 seconds because they're not used to getting the crap knocked out of them. So it's a very similar thing where I think, to quote Michael Irvin, we're losing recipes a little bit because I think that it's just a different game for the young guys as compared to the two guys who are maybe 38 years old.
Yeah. Simulator quarterbacks.
Exactly right.
Trackman golfers.
Trackman era of quarterbacks.
This is perfect take to end it with. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on.